Mahdi is a social media GOAT, content strategist. He knows everything that's happening across social media before it happens.
We've been taught that we are supposed to be people and we're also supposed to be brands. I will argue that that's created most of the tension. Entrepreneurship is a sport that you can play for life. If humor isn't a part of your content, you are failing. Not all messages belong in all places.
I'm working on it. Work in progress.
Same progress as like Spaz the Jazz or different type of progress?
Oh, you've been openly having fun with ChatGPT.
Yes.
What are some of those that entrepreneurs should be asking?
So I think the first thing is that...
And this means freedom, self-awareness, expression. And this to me means you can be more than one thing. I'm Jasmine Bowdry, and you're listening to And This Podcast. Welcome to another episode of And This. I am your host, Jasmine Bowdry, and I am so excited for our guest today. He is a genius, a marketer. He's just all the things. Like I have a pleasure of him being a new friend. And I am just excited about everything that we're going to share today, from building your content, shifting into using AI to really think about how you grow your platforms and your business. I am excited to welcome Mahdi Woodard to And This.
What's up? I'm happy to be here, for real. Thank you for the invitation.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We got Mahdi in the building.
What's going on? How you doing?
I mean, I'm just blessed to be in your presence. Like,
I wore my good black hoodie.
You don't leave the house, so
I wore my good black hoodie for you.
You did wear your good black hoodie. We're gonna talk about the signature.
I want to just get that.
But we coordinate. You
The
know,
mushroom
because I
belt?
knew you were gonna wear camo. Like I literally knew you were gonna wear camo. So I was like, I gotta pull out the little.
Well, I appreciate that.
It
feels good to be thought about. I'm excited
Coordination.
though. I'm excited.
Nah, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well.
How you
I'm feeling balanced for the first time in a long time.
Are you?
Yeah. I've been using the word harmony in place of balance because I think it's more appropriate, but I'm feeling pretty balanced. I'm feeling good. How you doing?
Why were you not feeling balanced before?
It's easy to get stretched thin. I think personally, professionally, sort of the pulls and the demands on you. And I think for the larger part of my life, I was trained to be a facilitator, consensus peacemaker. You know what I mean? And you get a little older. I had a birthday. You know, you get the revelations and stuff that come to you.
Yeah, I think I sent you like a whole voice note.
I appreciate that.
Did you say thank you?
I think I said.
It literally was like.
I think I replied.
For like people's birthdays, that I'm like cool with, like people I sing birthday songs, and I sang you a birthday song, and I don't even think you said thank you.
When is your birthday? So I'll make sure that.
Don't worry about it. It's July.
I got you.
But no, happy belated birthday.
Appreciate it. What's up?
I'm good. I'm excited to chat with you today
about
all the things, right? So if y'all don't know, Mahdi is a social media GOAT, okay? Literally content strategist. He knows everything that's happening across social media before it happens. He will give you all of the insight, but not only from what I like about you, and even our side conversations, because we can just nerd out, but you bring the corporate level of just how you think, how you do business, and how you showcase yourself on social media. You encompass all of that. So I really love that. I love that about you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Let's talk.
Okay.
Because I personally be over the socials.
Yep.
I would love to not have to be on social sometimes, but it's a part of the game, right? It's a part of business, part of just what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
With people like myself that are multidimensional, do different things.
Yep.
How do you show up on social in a way that doesn't seem cluttered, right?
Yep.
So I like Pilates. I want to show that I'm at Pilates on Instagram. I also want to show that I am a stylist.
Yep.
I also want to talk about retail and education.
Yep.
But how can people do that and not be told, well, you need to niche down?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
on
love
social,
it.
because I feel like it's a lot of people out there that want to display all of them, but feel that they're somewhat in a box.
If I can, I might use fashion as an analogy.
Yeah.
Right. So there are brands, let's use a Nike or somebody. Nike has a complete product portfolio across a range of things, but they got to make hard decisions on what they're promoting in a given season, what they're promoting even when you step into their brick and mortar, right? You don't get
Right.
the complete portfolio just when you walk into the Nike store. You might not see wristbands, you might not see the hijab, you may not see summer stuff during the fall.
Right.
Don't mean it ain't available at another place called their website or something to that degree, right? As humans, I think what we're really up against, because I think there's a question inside the question, we've been taught that we are supposed to be people and we're also supposed to be brands.
Yep.
And I will argue that that's creating most of the tension. Brands are a bit more structured, rugged, and finite.
Yeah.
And people are dynamic and fluid and evolving. And so when you try to take something that's in motion and put it into something that's rigid, you end up with all different types of pressures that's pushing you up, down, left, right, etc. So understanding that just at a base level, that's who we are as people trying to fit into this thing in business. I think what everybody ignores is that we don't own these platforms and we don't own these spaces. And they are also businesses that are making decisions about what they want to make available, right? So my question back to you would be either A, why do you feel you can't? Or B, how do we set you up with a solution that you can? You know what I mean? But when we understand what's happening, Instagram, for lack of for ease of use as far as platform, they're in a different part of their business model.
Yep.
7 years ago, you could do all of that because they were in an acquisition phase. It was about getting people on the platform and let people know who we are and what we're about. Now they are into, I would say, increasing scale and operational efficiency.
Okay.
And it ain't space for all those conversations to take place under one account. But they don't limit your accounts. Start another one.
Which is what you told me to do.
Yes.
Start another account. But do you feel like that just adds more? Because then it's like, oh, now I got another page that I have to manage. I have
Well,
something
how
else that I
important
have
is it to
do.
you to get those stories out?
Yeah.
You feel me?
Because sometimes is that how you think? Like, is that how you think we need to look at it? Like, quit complaining. How you want to share the story? Do you want to share it or not?
Yeah, and because you can share all of that, but if the engagement changes, what's more important, sharing the story or receiving the engagement? Right? If sharing the story is, then let the engagement go and be all of who you are, right? So I'm pushing people into a different way to think about the business of social media that's being played. I've got a lot of parts of me that I don't get to showcase because I'm also running a business. But as a whole human and as a whole person, I can just create another place where I interact with folks and share those parts of me. Now, it sounds like disheartening to a degree, but I think we're not making space for the evolution of the platform. They've now got over 2 billion people that are active users, over 500 million people that are daily users. And this thing called the algorithm's job is to determine what will we enjoy so that we can stay on the platform. And if I came here because you showed me how to style my existing closet and get the best yield out of it so I didn't have to go buy new things, that was my introduction to you. That was my connection to you. It's not so much that I don't care about Pilates, but the algorithm may not be able to make space to distribute those messages evenly. You know what I mean?
That's a great way to think about it. I like how you broke that down.
Yeah.
So how do you, because you have created a new space for, I would say, the things that you love, right? That aren't necessarily things that, you want to monetize. So Mahdi loves bird watching and all the things with taking pictures of beautiful birds. One, how has that been an outlet? Like, do you feel because now that you're able to just share another part of you on this other side of social, that it's an outlet for you? Like, it's not something you have to monetize. It's not something that has to be pretty and the aesthetic and all of that. But how has that just kind of helped you with your social media evolution?
So a lot of things. I'm going to try not to be long-winded, but there's a lot to this question. The first part is timestamp it to where I was when I went down that path. I was dealing with grief, right? And trying to find a way to get back to what felt like whole. And so it started me down a path of course, you've got therapy and grief counseling, But my mentor is like, hey, you got to find something that you can get excited about, that you can look forward to every day, because you can run your business from your cell phone.
Right.
And obviously making money and conversion rates ain't enough to get you out of bed, right? We got to get your wheels turning again. Yeah. So it became a way to try something different, right? So I got into bird watching, bird photography. And then naturally, you're just expressing the thing that you've created, right? What I fought for a long time was, but I'm also really good at business. Yeah. And I'm also really good at social media marketing. And can these two worlds play together? And this thing has, and this, you see what I did? It's played together really well because it's still a hobby to me, yeah, but my business brain won't turn off. So now it's, how do I make the necessary partnerships and affiliations with people who can pay for me to go do what I would do for free? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I still have me, the person that's running a business that's in a separate place. But I'm walking what I'm talking. It's not easy to manage 2 pages, but how much does it mean to you? It's not easy to be building 2 different communities that couldn't care less about each other. When I'm going deep about a ruby-throated hummingbird, that person don't care about what to post to increase their Reels engagement. Yeah. And when I'm going deep about why you should use 7-slide carousel instead of 10, you probably don't care about a palm warbler, right? So you got to do right by the communities, do right by the brands, do right by the pages, and decide, make some critical decisions as a person that's leading the business. How much does it mean to you?
So you saying we shouldn't do 20 carousels?
It depends. I think you should do whatever is required to make the story complete, right? All the other stuff is artificial. There just may be a reason why I'm saying instead of do 10, do 7, because some people lengthy and long-winded. I want to force you to tell better stories, and let's cut some of that time down and see if you can do 70% what you used to do 100%.
So what I hear you saying is that you can run 2 social media pages really well.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times we hear that you need to just go all in on one page, one platform, one offer, like one. But I know for me, I do multiple things. Well, and it sounds like you're saying the same.
Yes. Can I give you both sides?
Yes.
Right. So the first thing, let's talk about the power of one and singular focus. That strategy is amazing if you want to maximize revenue, if you want to maximize being understood. Who are you? What do you do? What do you care about? What is the problem? What is the solution? If your goal is to be very, very crystal clear, then the less you talk about external things, the better you will be. What I've found is that usually helps people when they get to, let's call it the first million, but they had to sacrifice so much of themselves and get in there that it's not necessarily worth it. And it sounds crazy to be like, it ain't worth it, but you realize you're a whole being and you may have a diverse set of interests, right? So what I'm now saying is the same way you put that singular focus into getting to the first plateau, you're doing that same thing. You're just segmenting and slicing it across multiple pages, multiple brands, etc. The cool part, though, is you get to choose what you want this life to look like. Do you want to make $500,000 a year and have 40% more free time? Do you want to make $1.2 million a year and barely get to see your kids? And these are tough choices, but I think we're able to do it. I would also be remiss if I didn't say this. We ain't where we used to be. The power of AI is so critical to this thing being able to work, you know what I mean? That you can almost do all of these things without ever having to get to 100%.
So for those that are on social media constantly, and you've been giving us all the good AI prompts lately with ChatGPT. What do you see as the evolution of AI integrated with social, but how people can still be relatable and be themselves and not essentially a robot?
All right, first, let me go back, because again, I'm a student of history, and I gotta say this for everybody listening. This is, from the things that I've read, from the things that I've experienced, this is the biggest shift in human evolution that I'm aware of.
Wow.
The closest comparison would be going from when we moved from the horse to the automobile. At the turn of the 20th century, let's just call it 1900, it took about 25 years before the automobile replaced the horse as the primary mode of transportation. The serious part of me, because I nerd out, you don't have 25 years to make this adoption. It's that important as it relates to the when we're doing a SWOT analysis,
Yep.
the threat side of your business, to protecting and making sure that you have a business, speed to market, ideation, optimization, and being able to use what AI is best at, you gotta embrace that. Now, it's a lot of things it don't do well. It can't be a human better than you.
Yep.
It don't have empathy. It doesn't have this relatability and nuance. But can it organize some lists? Can it help you remember some things that was on your, right? Can it help you? All of those things,
Yep.
absolutely. You know what I mean? But I lost part of the question, but I think it's so important that we understand how we use that and integrate that in our business right now.
You've been openly having fun with ChatGPT
Yes.
on your page, giving us prompts and things that we can use. So what are some of those that entrepreneurs specifically should be asking AI?
Beautiful. So I think the first thing is that we got to understand, even within, let's just use ChatGPT to keep it simple. ChatGPT is a little over 2 years old as it relates to mass adoption. It ain't what it used to be. It's a whole different animal. The first prompt I would start by saying, hey, I'm not good at prompting. However, I'm running a business, I'm building a brand, and this is what I currently know.
Yep.
So as we talk to each other, I want you to be mindful of my blind spots and the things that I don't even know to ask, and then start. And you start by asking what you do know. You start by talking about where you are and having a dialogue with it and thinking about it in that sense. What would it look like if it was a creative consultant? What would it look like if it was a leader of your advisory board? Talk to it from that perspective. And you also can save and store conversations. And now it has the ability to reference things. You know what I mean? So I first would start there. Then we start asking whatever our base questions are. And one of those things, especially for people on social media, I would now say, given this, how can I best use you to achieve this goal on social media? How can I best use you to achieve whatever goal I'm looking for with my marketing?
So what are some of those answers that it's giving you?
So I'll go deeper. I like the psychology side. I think people think about the art side of marketing, colors, logos, fonts, mood, tone, and feel. They don't think about the why behind this whole part, right? So even I asked it, how should I start talking to my audience about AI? Because we're at an intersection where there's some ethical concerns, there's some should I adopt this or not? And it pulled all of my history in corporate, all of my history as an entrepreneur, and it basically told me you have a duty to stand up as a leader in this space and have a point of view. So my point of view is don't avoid it, lean into it. Allow it to do what it does better than humans. Make space for you to do what only humans can do. For example, only a human can have this interaction, but when we're done, you can run all of this back through ChatGPT and say, this was my first conversation with Mahdi. I want to have a follow-up conversations. What questions did I miss? What things should I have went deeper on, right? You can engage your audience in it. Hey, how did you guys like the episode with Mahdi? Get some feedback, run the comments from YouTube and say, here's the entire conversation and the entire community experience. How can I now involve my community for part 2? You feel me? So talk about it in that way and take the burden of trying to run this through your brain away from you and go do something better, like meet members of your community, have dinner with a loved one, do some human things and let the AI do what it does.
Is that how you're currently using it?
Yes.
For you? Because I feel like there are moments when we see Mahdi often, right? Like, okay, but then there might be a few moments where it's like, okay, I haven't seen him in a minute.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, are you just re-navigating how you want to show up on the platform? Are you using AI in place of you physically having to, you know, create content and do things like that?
So I think in the spaces where you see me, I try to keep a base consistency of a post a day at this point. There are times where you can feel the gravity because it's 3, 4, 5 posts per day. Absolutely. And there are times where I rarely dip below 1, but maybe those things just aren't resonating, right? What I would say for me is I'm just giving myself space to be the whole human. I don't want to do this some days either, right? And on those days I don't have to. However, what is our duty as the person running the business? Why not batch create? Why not take the things that we know are performing well, run that through AI and get 3, 4, 5 different variations of it? And now you can pre-populate this into a content calendar on the days where you have no energy to even hit post. It doesn't stop your business from moving forward. But now we're back at that intersection between personal and personal brand, right? Coca-Cola never takes a day off. The brand, right? Every time you go to the store, it's there. Could you imagine if Coca-Cola had a personality? I don't feel like being bought today, right? And it just ain't on the shelf at Kroger, Publix, Harris Teeter, you name it, right?
Nowhere.
So there's a burden on us as people to always do these things. And I'm saying you can lay some of these troubles on ChatGPT, let it create a content calendar that can sort of be in place of you.
For those of us that may deal with a little bit of control,
Yeah.
I would say, because I think that's part of it, is like it's
Okay.
a little bit of a control of where, do I trust this machine,
Yeah.
to try to replace me, or I still need to be able to show up all the time? Because again, it is somewhat of a burden of feeling like, no, I'm not a Coca-Cola. My business is not at billions like a Coca-Cola. So I have to do these things. What would you say for those of us that are a little bit of control freaks, overthinkers?
What
do the most?
What level is your audience? And that's going to determine how I answer the question.
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say mostly professionals, college educated, primarily women, probably about 87% women between the ages of 30 to about 45.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to have control. The difference or the modification I would say is your job is not to control it. Your job is to set the standard. Mm-hmm. Your job is to create the boundaries on which this business, this brand is going to exist. Let's talk scary tech, and then let's come back and talk nice tech. You ain't running from nobody. How long you done had this phone number? Every text message is saved, right? Everything we've ever done, everywhere we go, we're living in a big interconnected world. Every time you swipe your debit card, I can take your debit card, run a correlation, and say, what are you likely to buy based on what you've bought historically? That's how we get served up with ads that say people who bought this also bought this. Or that's how you like, how did they feed this thought to me? How did they know that I was looking for a new rug? We didn't know that you were looking for a new rug. We saw that you were buying other things in your bedroom, and we know logically in about 2 weeks you probably want a new rug. Yep. So you're not outsmarting the system, but you can set some standards, some boundaries on how you want to act within it and how you want to operate in it. I don't think you should turn your life and your business over to ChatGPT. I also don't think if it takes you 2 hours or 3 hours to make a piece of content, you should keep relying on your brain and your control, because I'm 3, 4 in front of you. Now we're back to the SWOT analysis part. If your goal is happy, holistic, balanced life, you don't ever need to use AI. If your goal is to be able to affect your destiny, have access and control over the freedom of your future, then you might want to understand what the threat of this thing is if you don't do it.
What is the evolution of what Mahdi wants?
It's changed. If you were to ask me a couple of years ago, I was deeper on the maximize revenue side of things.
Right.
And you realize that you get to a point where you need enough. I understand why rich people say money ain't everything. You need enough money to be like, money's contextual, right? If you ain't got none, it's everything. You start to get some, you start to lose some and make it back, you can fit it in your life. So I'm way closer to what I would say balance. What do I need to make? How do I want my life to look? And then build the business around that. Because I want to prioritize doing the things that I enjoy, talking to friends and family, going deeper with the people that I love. I know I don't have the ability to sit in a job for 8, 10, 12 hours, be it somebody's job or a job of my own. And now I can adjust my revenue and my life expectations according to that. You know what I mean?
So what were those, because this has been an evolution for you, because I remember when I first started following you, it did seem more on like the maximizing revenue side, right?
Well, because I also was trying to get people to understand how bad they are at the thing that they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if you
how do you do that in a, because I feel like I want to tell people how bad they are with style, but it doesn't always land.
It's okay.
You know, it doesn't always land as well as I would personally it to. You know, it some people, you know, get a little offended. Yeah. So how do you share that in a strategic yet impactful way?
You have to throw enough punches, right? So most folks, the content for me, I'm 10,000, probably 20,000 pieces of content into this thing, right? I'm also fully aware of who I am as a person. I got quick wit and humor on my side. I got analytical and sort of deep diving knowledge on my side. And I'm never trying to be condescending or hurtful. Mm-hmm. So those are the parameters. Yeah. And now I get to play within them. And if I go too far down condescending, somebody gonna say, oh, you think you better? And I'm like, went too far. Yeah. If I go too far down humorous, they don't see me as a subject matter expert that I am. If I go too far down analytical, they go, you
What
lost
talk
me,
about?
right? And so there's a dance, there's a balance to it. But I think painting the picture of what it looks like when they achieve or when they attain the thing that we're recommending, that helps a lot. So I'm always framing it. If you didn't study marketing, sales, PR, advertising, etc., you probably don't know how to create a message that motivates a person to take an action. You coming as a dental hygienist who's pivoting into fashion, right? You might be fly at fashion. When did you learn how to create a message around fashion that made a person want to change the way they dress, want to change the way they look, or want to call you? You didn't. So you must practice. The downside is you got to practice in public. And so I was trying to be the person to let you know that the only way out is through. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
After doing that for years, I realized that sometimes it's still well intended from my end, but not always well received because of the different demands that's on people's lives. And so now I have those conversations in smaller rooms where I can talk a little tougher with the people that are leading businesses. And I try to be a little more gentle to the public.
I want you to stop scrolling. I have a free fall trend report that I made just for you. And y'all, chef's kiss for this trend report. It is over 20 plus looks that is going to include the hottest trends of the season, including animal print, which you see I am wearing today. All you need to do is either click the link below or you can look in the show notes and grab it. Again, absolutely free. It's going to give you tips, style, strategy, all of the things that you need to incorporate all of the hottest fall trends into your wardrobe. I'll see you later. Would you say for your audience, it's probably a little more segmented, right? Like with
Fair.
kind of some that are newer to business,
Yeah.
some that are kind of, I'm 1 foot in corporate, 1 foot in this business, and then those that have scaled. How do you go about navigating what content you're going to create based on having a segmented audience?
How do I do it, or how do I recommend somebody should do it?
How do you recommend?
Yeah. So I recommend either one or two things, and it depends on what drives you. There are people who I call art-based people, internally driven. I got to feel good about it. I have to enjoy it, and I create from that energy source, and I hope the people find me. There are other people that says, what's missing in the market? What are the gaps? Now, do I have the resources or the willingness to go fill those gaps? I call those more your science people. First, you need to know where you line up. I'm a science-based person, so I'm studying, I'm calculating, and then I'm making some adjustment. But if you're the other way, like that works too. You know what I mean? For me, I start by saying, now that I've evolved and now that I understand the segments that are here, I got a large enough base of people. Now I can say, what's missing? Well, I've also been out here and we've evolved. So as you go from being, let's just call it baseline entrepreneur, to now you got a positioning statement. You go from no staff to now you got 1 full-time and 3 contractors. Well, now the conversation needs to change. And I have to make a sort of scientific decision on, am I moving with the people that are moving higher up in their business, or will I continue to be your entry point if you're showing up to entrepreneurship or social media? And you got to make some trade-offs.
How have you made that decision?
It's tough. I am really good at creating messages for the people that are just starting, but I'm skilled at working with the people that are advanced. And so I'm making the decision that I'm going to focus more energy on the people that are advanced and trust that these people are also leader of leaders and leaders of people. And so if I do right by the leader, it falls down throughout the organization. If I help you craft your message on social, there are people who see you as a thought leader, as an influencer, and you'll still be able to impact those folks. And it can no longer be my burden to say, I got to be the person that's at the entry point. It's a heck of an evolution because now it does impact things like, what do you call your business? How you talk about it? What do you price it at? What does a actual product promise look like for an evolved business leader versus somebody who's just getting started? Like a PDF and an ebook work for a person just getting started. But if you already authored and wrote and you don't want a PDF, you want a different type of solution. Right, so it changes all of what we do in our business.
I feel like I have a mix of that same type of audience that's, kind of newer, may just be starting in entrepreneurship. And then those like myself that are more, skilled, high achievers. And when we get on social media, it's like, okay, what I was doing in 2020 is no longer working, right? Versus somebody that's new and just starting. it's like a whole new world for them.
Yeah.
So, what are some tangible things that one you can share with the listeners that may be in that beginning journey? But then
Yep.
I also want you to share some tangible tips that you can
Yeah.
give to the high achievers.
So this is gonna sound loosey goosey, but for the people who are just getting started, the first thing I want them to understand is that this isn't permanent. You're trying your first business, you're trying your first reel, you're trying your first carousel post, and you really have to remove the judgment and only look at what does it feel like, what feedback am I getting. Entrepreneurship is a sport that you can play for life. Oftentimes where I see people struggle when they're just getting started is they pick the end. They say, I'm here because I want to scale a hair and makeup brand and I want to start today. And so we box ourselves into things that may not be that, right? I've got a private coaching community right now, and a woman jumped on and she asked a question. It was so funny. And my answer and her reply was so funny that I stopped for everybody. And I said,
tell us what the question was?
No, but I'm going to give you the essence of who she is. I said, if humor isn't a part of your content, you are failing. It's so natural for you that you don't have to feel like you got to show up a certain way because everybody in your industry shows up that same way. Bring the essence of who you are here and make space for the evolution. You may come here because you're passionate about sneakers, but your stories that you tell about them is even funnier. So make space that you may become a person that just brings additional humor, and you don't have to be serious about how leather is formed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're just getting started, I need you to practice. I need you to forgive yourself for the mishaps and the mistakes that you make, and just make room for the evolution. Now, let me give them some very tangible, like posting strategies, tips, etc. There are 3 main things that we're trying to accomplish on social media. First thing is, more than likely, people are unaware of you. And it takes way more people than you think. So you need to have a content strategy for awareness. And you're going to get the most success if you're posting Instagram Reels. They are literally designed to put it in front of strangers. But how would you talk to a stranger is different from how you would talk to somebody that you're familiar with. So when you're putting out information for strangers, you may have to lighten it. You may have to make it a bit more approachable because you don't have the context of who you are and what you do, right? So high level education things. Let's go down this path for you. It may be, I saw you post about Burgundy doing well for this fall, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of different ways you can talk about that for a beginning, intermediate, or an advanced person. For an advanced person, it may be, here's why you need to pivot and incorporate this into your wardrobe immediately in 3 places that you can go get some staples from. For a beginning person, it may be, hey, do you know that all the seasons have different colors, different trends? Well, here's what we see now, and here's what we think is coming in the spring. So be on the lookout for coral and teal and ... And it's like, dang, she cool. She know a lot of stuff. I like her. They're not ready to go buy anything. They're not ready to call you. And so we modify our messages, even though the base of it is the same. So for beginners, just practice. People are going to be unaware. As people become more familiar with you, then you can start to have different parts of those conversations. You can change your call to action. That same post around burgundy, and forgive me if I'm butchering it. I know y'all got a lot of colors. It might not be burgundy. It may be crimson.
Burgundy, oxblood, Merlot. They're all
you see what I'm saying? I ain't never bought a Merlot anything but a bottle of wine. So you change how you're talking to people based on how familiar they are with you and how close they are to being ready to purchase. So for beginners, you got to learn this. For my people that are a little bit more advanced, I need them to stand on business. You have to understand who you are. When we had a private conversation, if that's okay, I'm like, girl, I ain't know all this about you. Move around and take up space. Throw some elbows, right? Make room, because there's a very different recommendation when you say you need to look like this, try this, say this from a person that's seasoned versus a person that's just getting started. This is like, people say you give great tips. I don't give tips. I give strategic business recommendations. You don't have to take them, but I'm not your friend to give advice and tips, and you can hang up the phone with me and call somebody else and get their advice and tips. We are not the same. But that's for my seasoned people. So when I said, hey, here's the answer to your problem, it's 2 pages, that's the answer.
Right.
Now, does that mean you should hire somebody to run the second one? You got to figure that out. Does it mean you want to do them? Does it feel good? But you want the answer? It don't feel good to say it, but this is the answer. So for my people that are more advanced, look at the opportunity that's in front of us. If, I'll use my grandmother, rest her soul. If my grandmother was amazing at cooking, If my grandmother back in 1970 wanted to start a business, little old black lady, who gonna give her some money?
Yeah.
Right? How's she gonna tell people? Even if the pie, that sweet potato pie is amazing, what restaurant is gonna allow her to come bake it inside their restaurant? It's too risky in late 60s, early 70s. She didn't have an avenue to get that message out here. We got an avenue, and we don't get dinged or punished for the amount of messages that we put out or that we try. So if you are a person that's got a point of view, that's already went and become accomplished in a given area, and you know you can impact and improve people's lives, and you're sitting on the sideline complaining about how hard it is, I don't have any sympathy.
Ooh,
I need you to take up space. What would people's lives look like if you don't answer the call of your purpose? And if you don't have something big enough pulling you into business, go back home, look in the mirror, and figure out what that is and start that business.
Child.
2 different people,
Convicted.
2 different me's.
Two different yous. That was good. I mean, I feel a little convicted because I think there's also somehow we've become a little bit entitled.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like posting. I don't feel like creating content. It's so overwhelming. But to the point of your grandmother, she didn't have the opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
There was no outlet for her to be able to do that, and for free.
Yes.
At that.
Yeah.
How do you master these 2 messages with your content? Because I know for me personally, that has always been my struggle, because it is a mixed bag of a little bit of audience, right? And so in terms of our conversation, right, where you like, I didn't know all of this, for those that are listening, he's talking about like my retail background and like the corporate background as a buyer. And the reason I know for me that I pulled back with that content is because I was like, y'all not getting it.
Yeah.
And it can be frustrating when you are someone that's not only passionate about it, but like this one, like I studied this, you know what I'm saying? Like I went and got a degree in this. I worked in this for 15 years, and y'all just want to post a picture of a product and think that somebody's going to automatically buy it and you should be a millionaire tomorrow, like based off that, when I'm trying to give you the real strategy of how to grow a product-based business from someone that's grown multi-million-dollar product-based businesses. But it can be frustrating when you feel like that message is not being heard. So do you feel, because I know that there are thousands, I'm sure, that have felt the same, and maybe even you, just in terms of sometimes, how do you navigate that challenge of where you're like, well, let me pull some of myself back and tweak the message to, because literally this is what someone told me previously. You speak too high to them. They don't understand. You need to give like ABC content. And I'm like, but I'm not an ABC person. Here are 3 steps to grow your product-based business. Post on social media, start a Shopify store, and price your products. Like that's not really the game. So I know I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent, but damn it, it grinds my gears.
Yes, and I feel the frustration. I think what we have to be reminded of, again, is that not all messages belong in all places. What I would do if I'm you, I would use a strategy that we call permission-based marketing. I would say over the next 3 to 4 weeks, I would make a post and say, hey, you guys know me for these things, but I'm extremely skilled at these other things. And I'm looking for 20 people to go on this journey with me, to be part of a private community, private newsletter, whatever that looks like. And here are the prerequisites to be able to qualify for that, right? So now we can shift this, because you will run yourself crazy to the person who does need 1, 2, 3, and ABC. They're not ready. And it's not going to resonate. And it won't be shareable, but it will be impactful. So maybe we need to move those people to a different place and have a different conversation, right? There's certain stuff that TikTok is good at, certain things that Instagram is good at, Facebook, etc. You may see better success on YouTube. Why? It's search-based. I can't even know to look for something until I get ready for that question. So when I do pop up and say, how do I optimize my shopping? How do I increase that? Then you start to say, what are the questions that they would ask? Therefore, I'll put the answer in my title. And when they're ready for me, the teacher will appear. as opposed to saying, I'm here as a teacher, I got this message, y'all need to be ready to be students.
So as a woman, and I know me in me personally, right? Like I love a curated feed.
Yeah.
Love an aesthetic. I love an ambiance, right? But you posted something recently where it was kind of like different from what you normally post. You usually give us the crisp, clear, high quality, camera. But this where you were just kind of out, right? Walking, and you shared that you like weren't going to post it. And now, that post has gone viral. So one, tell us a little bit about that, but also how we don't have to always show up perfect in our content.
So it's these micro shifts in our mindset that we have to make, right? So we talk about having a growth mindset or a flexible mindset. Social media has changed so much. There was a time when that aesthetic curated feed was the bee's knees. If you didn't have it, you looked unprofessional, and it's like, who sent you, right? Now we went to the other side where it was just completely raw, organic, and now we're finding our fit back to the middle. The first thing I would say is never jeopardize a beautiful message for people just because you don't feel like it's the right time. So sometimes you gotta film it or write it and hit post. And so to get to that specific question, I was walking in the park, taking pictures of birds. And these lines don't normally meet. Like, I don't even do human stuff before 10 o'clock in the morning. It's my sacred space, right? But the message came to me so raw and so authentic that I recorded it. And then I hit play. But my brain was like, oh, it's loud. Oh, it's choppy. Why would you do that? You should go back home. You got all these lights and all these mics and all these lenses. But I had to free myself of that. You know what I mean? Net result, it's over 1 million views and it brought in 5,000 new followers.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So even in your attempt to be perfect, I think we got to make space for the fact that we can't control the outcome. We just do our part to put in the input.
That's good.
Free yourself.
Free yourself.
Free yourself.
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? We love a good look though, but sometimes just be raw.
I'm working on it. work in progress. I like my,
Same progress as like spaz and jazz, or different type of progress?
Oh, not spaz and jazz. So
I just want to
go back to season 1 if you don't know who Spaz is. That's the other personality. So yes, there is there's a balance.
I like it.
I'm sure you a native Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there's
for sure. A lot of all of that. You know what I'm
some
saying?
in there tucked away, not for everybody.
Yeah.
But comes out when it needs to. When it needs to. Okay, so as a stylist, as a woman,
yes,
I have to ask you about your signature style.
Okay.
Which essentially is what we see.
It's my good hoodie, though.
This is your good hoodie.
You silly.
Typically, you are in all black, though.
Yeah.
So I would say that's probably more of the signature look. You pop in the camo for your pop of color and the mustard. I noticed the mustard also. But there's been a larger conversation, right? And I think we were talking about it on Facebook.
Yes. I like. See, now I'm gonna get on you.
Oh.
Facebook, I
totally
need that
different.
Everywhere. It's magnetic because it's closer to. There's a historical connection to Facebook because these were our friends, these were our family.
Right.
And in Instagram, we thought we had to show up and be this thing. I'm just gonna ask you to be more of your Facebook you on YouTube and on Instagram and see if it doesn't have an impact.
You think so?
Now I'm sorry, I'll let you get your question out.
I think because like Facebook me is a little more cutthroat.
I like it, but it's humorous and it's well received. Yeah.
But I don't know if Instagram. I don't think they receive
Try it out
as well.
The world is huge, and I think I'll give you one thing. And I'm sorry for stopping your question.
No.
I got about 300,000 followers on Instagram.
Yep.
I got on TikTok to like let me master TikTok real quick. It was the most humbling experience because people were saying, "I never heard of this dude. Where he been? This is dope. He don't post enough, right?" But it confirmed a couple of things. One, the world way bigger than we think it is. And then 2, this thing isn't accidental. So the same way I say that I'm not giving tips and advice, I'm giving strategic recommendations. All of who you are on Facebook, I think you need to be that person in other places.
We'll get back to it. But the reason is, I think so. There was a post last year.
Yeah.
That went viral on a style analysis of a popular TV host.
Okay.
Right. And it was accurate analysis, right? Like it was on her body type and I showed befores and after. Like, hey, this way in this body type, dressed this way in this body type, right? And so some people understood Like it wasn't disrespectful by
Mhm.
any means, right? But some people are like, oh, that's my body type too.
Yep.
Like I can see the difference. But
Yep.
then others are, you're trying to bash another Black woman
Yep.
and, you know, all of these negative things. So I think that I scaled back
Absolutely.
because I'm like, I don't do trolls. I'm grown. I'm not going back and forth with
Yes.
strangers on the internet.
Yes.
Like, so I do believe that I hid some of myself from that. And I
Yes.
feel a little more protected
Fair.
on Facebook because I'm like, I know y'all.
Yep.
Like I know my Facebook people.
Yeah.
Instagram, I you know, some of y'all. So I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's fair. And I didn't say that void of that experience, right? I didn't have to witness it to know the reasons why we pulled back. But I'm also pushing you as a leader to say there are more people on the other side who don't know you, who don't know how to identify their body type. And as a result, they're walking around unconfident. They're walking around not being able to step into their greatness because we scaling back for the trolls. So I'm going to say dive deeper into who you are and what you talk about and trust that it's more of those people than it is the trolls. And somewhere in that, we end up having to be okay with the negativity. Then you'll find that your community will start to police itself. Because if people will say, she's too deep into empowerment, she helped me see myself differently, she helped me learn how to be confident, and they'll start to say, this is how we operate over here on her page.
That's good. So you've made your own signature style statement.
I thought my media training got you away from that question. Here we go. Come on.
Nope. It did not give me away. We're gonna talk about it. We have to talk about it. Which is typically all Black, and sometimes you pop up with the camo. And we were having a conversation, a few of us on Facebook, just in how women, you know, are typically judged if they don't show up a certain way, if they don't look a certain way. And men are able to be a little more casual, a little more simplistic, and not have to, you know, show up. You hear things about the bro marketers and, you know, how others show up at events and aren't judged, but, you know, women essentially are. And you made a comment that I want to make sure I state correctly, is that you said, I know I would make more money if I were to cut my dreads, you know, dress a little bit differently if I were to do those things.
Yes.
Why have you not? How has you showing up in your authentic style, you know, made you feel like I don't need those other things to be Mahdi?
So I'll give you the full thing. I said if I cut my dreads, lost 50 pounds, and started dressing more business casual. I'm hyper self-aware. I'm also been a consultant for years, and I came from corporate. I know the look. I know that it's more palatable. I know that I take up space naturally. I'm over 6 foot. I'm over 250 pounds. I'm dark skinned. So you can lean into that. You can lean away from it. First, I'll say, let's give that context. Coming from corporate and feeling like I had to dress a certain way, talk a certain way, be a certain way, I said, if I work up the courage to become an entrepreneur, I'm not going to build a prison for myself by being this same standard that I never agreed with in the first place. Because it didn't impact my work or my performance. It was performative. And it was the culture. So I can't rage against the machine. I get it. This y'all culture. You don't like it, build your own. I built my own. And I'm also making my peace with, there will be people who will see you and go, I don't want to learn from him. I don't think he's capable. He doesn't look like he comes from this pedigree, etc. If I'm talking to someone as a consultant and I say you want to maximize your revenue, I would say pay attention to the importance of image. Pay attention to how you look and dress the part. If somebody is maximizing their whole human experience, I'd say do whatever you want to do. And currently, I'm in the season of doing whatever I want to do. That does not mean I don't make space that I may become that other person again.
Do you feel that, not even just with yourself, in that mindset, that it's typically a deeper issue with just how people feel about themselves and not wanting to show up?
As far as their, like how they choose to wear what they wear? Or,
yeah.
So I think there are a lot of things that impact it. The first thing is always whatever we feel we're supposed to do. And as a marketer, I was part of the you're supposed to do movement. We always tell you what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to wear, what you're supposed to buy. But then I think for some people, it could be a, losing the word, it could be a self-esteem thing that impacts what they choose to wear or what they don't choose to wear. I knew that it was critical for me to leave where I was coming from and step into social. That part of my true story was like, I'm shedding some of these layers.
Yeah.
And if you're not crazy, if you want to wake up, wear jeans, some Jordans, and still pop your, right? You're not crazy, but somebody got to kick down some of these doors. So I still have to salute the Eric Thomases of the world,
Yeah.
the Gary V's of the world that said, I ain't putting on the tux.
Yeah.
I'm walking in here as I am. Are those things possibly limiting? They may be, but I think the same way they've made those decisions. So it's in that same vein that I make it for myself. So I hope I make space for the person who sees themselves confident in whatever they choose to put on. Now, for the betterment of society, I think there are double standards.
Yeah.
And I wish holistically we just made more space for humans to be. But, you know what I mean? I get it.
And I respect it. And I understand both sides, even from being a stylist. Like I see the benefits of it, but also, you know, you are being who you are. Like I think sometimes people think that signature style means you have to.
But I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
Now, two things can be true.
Yeah.
I can be more casual. I can be myself.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I can do what you do. I can just set the parameters and boundaries. Hey, Jazz, I want to feel comfortable. Hey, I'm about to go on a podcast speaking circuit. I feel better in black for these reasons, but I'm open to this, that, and the third. And you can decide I'm going to move him from black, then we're going to go to Navy, then we're going to go to this until I can get him in future. You can make those decisions as a person leading a business. This doesn't mean you've picked the right pieces just because that is what you enjoy wearing. There's different versions of black or camo, et cetera. And I think in that, we would be too much in our ego if we don't allow other experts to help us in that regard.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So what color would you wear other than black?
Well, first I want to see what you can do with black.
You have so much black.
Well, let's see what we can do with things I already own. And then let's go buy some new stuff. And let's build some camaraderie that way. And then I'll, you know. But you say you like control. I like control too. So I'm going to start.
Not in all aspects though. Like not in everything.
Well, I'm saying I'm going to control black.
Like,
and then you get creative control over where you buy the black from.
Within the black.
For sure. Okay. There's so many. I haven't worn leather. We can see what leather look like. Oh. I don't own many textures. You know what I'm saying?
There's some black textures.
See?
You know,
you see how you just
different fabrics.
I'm feeling it. It happened here. Yeah, for sure.
So I want to know what you think of when you hear the words "and this." And I ask everyone this because that's what this podcast is about. It's about being, you know, your multi-dimensional self. So would love to know your thoughts because you've been many things.
So I'll tell you the feeling and then I'll tell you what the words mean. The feelings make me feel understood. It feels expansive. In a sense of you can, and is a continuation. Mm-hmm. We typically start to cluster things, but you can throw an and on it, something when somebody think the sentence over, and now we move on into the next part of the conversation. So I think it makes space for us to be all of what we can be and continue to evolve, right? If I get the opportunity to come back and for a part 2, we'd be continuing this conversation plus whatever new things happen in my life in a 6 to 12 month span. So when I hear it, I see it as an invitation to just be and to be boundless in a sense. So I love it and I'm grateful. I don't take it lightly when we build platforms and allow people the space to stand on them. So thank you for the work that you put in before I met you to become the person that you are. And thank you for betting on yourself and building a platform sturdy enough and allow me just a little bit of space to come stand on it. So I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. No, but thank you for, you know, I don't take it lightly that, you know, this is time out of your day, your schedule, your bird watching to be here and just sharing all of your amazing like expertise. I don't think that there are many on social that I follow that just think the way you do in terms of how we think about content, how we think about social, how we should be thinking about it. I love the depth of you and just how you don't share like surface level shit. You know, like I don't like no fluffy nothing. So I appreciate that. So I appreciate you. I hope that you have loved this episode with our guest, Mahdi. Again, he has broke down not even just tangible social media strategies, but how you should go about thinking, right? Because I think a lot of it has to do with like our mindset and how we think about social. Like I know you've helped me in terms of like, girl, like this is your this is your duty.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And to not feel entitled of, I just don't feel like making content when those before us didn't have the opportunity,
Yeah.
to do these things.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to welcoming you on the next episode of And This. Maybe you don't want to be a stylist. Maybe you have not downloaded my free fall trend report, but you like, I've been watching And This and I love her looks. You can shop all of these styles or something similar in my Like to Know It store. Grab the link by clicking the button below or checking out the show notes.